All right, so we're starting Mem Tesam with Beis Amr Abaye. It's about 12 lines from the bottom. So again, we had the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that Anazakin Sham Lahem Beidis Balchayv Bebeininis Ksubas Isha B'Ziburis. Along came Mar Zutra and said that Lo Yamarn Elam Yasbi, that Ksubas Isha is Bebeininis. Ksubas Isha is B'Ziburis, and Mar Zutra came along and says that we're talking about that the only time that Ksubas Isha is B'Ziburis is Miyasaimim. But if it's not coming from the Yisayim, if it's coming from himself, then you have to pay Beinanis. So the Gemara is having a hard time with that because it's not like, first of all, seemingly it's not like the Mishnah, and second of all, the Gemara has many questions on from various brises. So Amr Abaye, so comes along Abaye and he has a kasha on what Mar Zutra said. Tashuma, we have a Raya Fakir from Mar Zutra. Why? Because Hanazakan Sham Lahem Beidis, Ubal Chayv Beinanis, Uksubas Isha B'Ziburis. So that was the Mishnah. So it's clear in the Mishnah that a Ksubas Isha is B'Ziburis. So Rameir argues, or Rameir says it's Bebeinanis, but the Pashtus of the Mishnah is that it's Ksubas Isha B'Ziburis. So Miman, who are we talking about, right? According to who, meaning, who's the Mishnah referring to that you're going to be collecting this money for, right? So the Gemara previously had a Havamina that we're talking about the assignment. But the Pashtus is that we're not, because the Mishnah specified Yisayimim as a separate case, so it can't be that everything's talking about Yisayimim over here. So my area Ksubas Isha. So then why are we dafka talking about Ksubas Isha? I feel kol haninami. Everything else in the Mishnah also we can say that we're each one is mechuyev to pay kifi what it says in the Mishnah. Mezaken shamalim beidus balchayev bebeinanis and Ksubas Isha b'ziburis. So you can't tell me that. So you can't just tell me that everything is from Yisayimim. So Amar Vacha by Yaakov Hacham Mayaskina, what are we talking about? Gain Shenasa Orev Lenizke B'noi Ulabal Chayv B'noi Ulksubas Kalasai. We're talking about a case where he became an Orev for his son's damages, or he became an Orev for the Chayv of his son, or he. Oh, so we're gonna get to that. That's why we needed these papers to explain all these things. And the third case is he became an Orev for his daughter-in-law's ksuba. I'm just going to read the next few words, but then we'll get back to explaining what everything is. It's really all the Gemara Bava Basra, and once we get to that Gemara, everything till the end of the Gemara should be clear. So v'haiki and each chayv should be paid properly in the Mishnah. So nothing changes just because somebody becomes an Orev. The classic case of an Orev would be, right, that, the thing, let's jump right into it. The Gemara Bava Basra and Kufan and Gimel says like this. The Gemara learns from Psukim that a person who is makabel on himself to be an Orev for halva, he's meshubed for the halva. Now, even if the Orev did not make any kind of kinyan whatsoever, so he's still mechuyev in this Orev. He still could become an Orev even without making a kinyan. So the question is, we have a general rule, right? That in order for somebody to be part of a kinyan, to be part of a chayv, he has to make some kind of a kinyan to be part of it. And an asmachta is something that he just said something, right? A lot of times, if I say I promise you $100, but that promise doesn't mean anything because it's not based off anything. It's not. So that would be a case of asmachta lekanya. There are other cases that they say. The place can say that he wrote a star. So he has to have the star. To say that he wrote a star, that's not good enough. That might be more of an asmachta kind of thing. But over here, there's the hischayvos. Over here, the chiddush of Arev is that there's a hischayvos just from the dibur be'alma. Even if he just speaks it out, there's already a hischayvos, meaning that he's already obligated to be the Arev, even if he didn't do any kinyonim, even if he just spoke it out. So, Afal Pikain, when we're talking about an Orev, even though generally a person cannot be Mishab himself a Dibur B'Alma just from speaking, but in Orev, he does become Meshubit by just speaking it out. Why is this? So the Gemara explains, because he's getting a benefit that I'm trusting in you. You become a very trustworthy person. See, I don't have to make a kinyan, and because I'm buying your trust. And that's the very. Who's trust? If you're being an Orev,
Levi's the Orev. Okay?
Levi's the Orev. So that means that really both of us are putting our trust in Levi, that he's going to be responsible for paying this money up. He's going to be responsible for in case something happens.
So ladies excited about that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And not only that, but other people are going to trust him with other things also. So it's very good for his resume, Al Capone.
For ladies' resume?
Yeah. That people are going to be relying on him for his trustworthiness. And so, therefore, because of this trust that they're putting in him, so then the Orev is Gomer. I'm just going to read the lashon that I wrote over here, that the Orev is Gomer b'daita b'leiv shalem l'froya es halva kilu hilva. And the Orev is going to make up his mind b'leiv shalem to pay back, to do what he can to pay back the chayva, because he holds very, very stark of his trustworthiness, and he doesn't want to lose his trustworthiness, so he has to hold on to his responsibilities and his obligations that he's mechayiv himself with this arvos, so to speak. So the Gemara explains that, but before we go back to this, I want to mention that the Gemara and Bava Basra over there mentions the three kinds of orevs. There's an orev stam, that he says, that the Malva says to the Leiva, I lent you $100, and he's going to have to pay him back. So when you involve an orev, so when you get a guarantor on the halva, he's chayiv to pay the malva if the leiva won't pay in time, or he won't pay at all. But the malva is not able to be teveh him and say, meaning, how does an orev work? Yeah, let's say you're the orev, right? So can I go over to you? Let's say I lent him $1,000, right? And instead of going to him, I go straight to the orev. I can't do that. I have to go to him first. Make sure that he's not able to pay back the chayv. Once he's not able to pay back the chayv, I go to the Orev and I say, Rabbi Orev, can you please help us out of here? And that's why we got you involved in the case to begin with, right? So that's an Orev stam. Then you have something that's has a little more of a chayvus. That's called an Orev kablan. So a person says to the malva, ten loy vani eten loch. You give it to him and I'll give it to you. So he's mechayiv himself to pay back the chayv. And I don't need to go to the leiva. Orev kablan means that you're holding everything responsible. So I can go straight to the orev and ask the orev for the money. And that's called an orev kablan, because he's makabel on himself to pay back the chayv as if you were the leiva. So you're in a much stickier spot than the orev stam. Then there's a third case called nasam and nasam biyad, where the malva gives the money to the orev, and the Orev gives the money to the Leiva. I mean, he's holding on to it because for whatever reason he's afraid the mice might get to the money. Yeah, or maybe he doesn't trust himself with the money. Maybe he needs somebody a little more responsible to hold on to the money, right? So then, in the third case that we're talking about, Ben Nassim Biyad, where he gave him the money to hold on to, in this case, so the Malva doesn't owe the Leiva anything, and he can't be teveh him at all. He has to go straight to the Orev, and the Orev has to be Teveh the Loiva. That's the position that he's putting himself in like this. So the Gemara is saying that now, so that's really the Hakdama, the introduction to the story of Orev. So now the story is like this. What's happening in our Gemara? So Amar Bach Yaakov, what are we talking about? He became an Orev for the nezek of his children, right? So how does he do that? So what happens is like this. So Rav Yaakov is saying that the Mishnah is not talking about where he needs to collect the money from the assignment or from the husband. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a father that became an orev for his son's damages. That the father was makabel on himself to pay for the damages that his son. Let's say his son's a vilda chaya and he runs around and he smashes all the windows, and the son obviously doesn't have any income, right? So the father says that he'll be willing to pay for any damages that the son will incur. So the thing is like this, and now the son died. So who's going to be mechuyev to pay? So the father. The father assumes the responsibility of what the son would be mechuyev to pay. And the same is true with the next case, that he became a bal chayv, he became an orev lebal chayv b'nai, or l'ksubas kalasa. It's all the same thing, that he assumed these responsibilities, and then the one, meaning the mazak or the etzem, one that was mechuyev, died. So now the father or the father-in-law in the last case assumes responsibility for that, his chayvus, to that obligation. And whether you're talking about nizakins, then that would be be'idis. If you're talking about chayv, like the second case, so that would be be'beininus. And if it would be Ksuba b'kalasai, that would be b'ziburis, because it doesn't change the status just because we're dealing with an orev. Meaning that the same chi of the quality of property that you're going to be paying back with is going to be the same level quality stuff, whether you're dealing with an orev or whether you're dealing with the direct, or whether you're dealing with the direct hischayvus of the payments. That's what the Gemara is saying. V'haikidin. So what we're talking about is that we're talking about the Yisayim. It's very hard to say that we're talking about Yisayim over here, right? Because we just showed that even if we're talking about an orev, so we're talking about an orev. It's a regular case. We're not talking about the Yisayim. Ubal chayiv. So nizaken ubal chayiv demechayim gavu. Ihu nami kimagvi kimechayim magvi. So it's like this. The difference between... so when he pays for the ksuba, he does not pay from Beinanis, like the husband would pay, according to Mazutra. Meaning, I think we're saying like this, that even according to Mazutra over here, he would be paying ziburis, like Yisayim would pay. So the question is, why over here would you say that by the ksuba he would pay like the Yisayim would pay, and not like a regular ksuba would pay? So Zak the Gemara, so the Gemara is going to come to be miyashv now what the difference is. Zok Rashi Kagan Shanasa Arev La'olam Ksuba Minei Didei Bebeinanis. La'olam we're talking about where the Ksuba he himself is mechuyev to pay from Beinanis, not from Yisayim. But Kulam Masnisim Arev Kamari, and the entire Mishnah is talking about cases of Arev. Shanasa Arev Lebnei Lenizkoy Lalvasei Luksubas Ishtei Lepara B'Shviloi Em LaYifra. If he's not going to be able to pay the Chayv, so the father is going to be the one that's responsible to pay. V'loi para. And the son was not able to pay umes, but also with government arev. So then they came to collect the money from the arev. Even though they're not collecting it from the Yisayim, you can still only collect from ziburis the haikidine. Because this is the case that even in the Mishnah would say that you would be chayiv to pay ziburis. So Zak the Gemara. Nizaknu bal chayiv demei chayim gavu. So nizaknu bal chayiv Zak Rashi. Did he nayuli para nami mei chayim shel ben? So by the nizaknu and by the case of bal chayiv, so even when the son would still be alive, tviyasan eina ba ketzakim al yisayimim, they're not coming like they're screaming about the yisayimim. So lefikach shena from an arim the from imenu kedin shena from an ben. We're dealing with, you're paying. The father's going to pay the same way the son would pay if he would be alive. Nothing changes. Nothing's different over here. So they're going to collect the money the same way whether he's alive or not. We view it as if he's alive. I mean, the status of the payment of his chayvus is not going to change. But ksubas isha the la'achar misa gavya ula'achar misa miman gavya is miyasmi. But Masha Enken, whenever we're talking about when does a person pay a ksuba? So Zakti Gemara that when we're talking about a ksuba's isha is going to be la'achar misa. So miman gavya, la'achar misa miman gavya. Who are you going to be able to collect the money from? From after the ksuba, from after the person dies. Elamai, you're going to be collecting it from the Yisayim. So iunami ki magbi la'achar misa magbi. So then we have to say over here also, in the case of ksuba by us, that it's also going to be k'la'achar misa. They have to collect it as if it's going to be like after misa. Meaning, even if he has a son, so Zak Rashi, miman gavya leben nechasim. If the son would have nechasim, yunami orev, the orev would also have to collect it. Meaning, the story of ksuba is always talking about la'achar misa. So in this case, you're automatically stuck paying as if you would pay for the Yisayim, not Iudi day. So, frankly, the Arab the Ksuba Leim Meshtabes Bekaplan. So maybe we should be able to say this because, the Gemara is not asking a kasha on what Rav Yaakov just explained. Is it possible to say that the Mishnah is talking about an Arif? If we're going to try to do what Marzutra says we should do in the Mishnah, we won't be able to do it. Why? Because the halacha is that an Arif for a ksuba has no eschayvus, and there's no, and we'll explain why there's no eschayvus by ksuba in a second. A guy is going to go. This husband and wife, they want to get married, right? So they need money for a ksuba. So one uncle pops in and says, you know what, I'll take care of it. Does he have any money? Lav dafka. Does he have any property to back himself up? Lav dafka. He just wants the shidduch to happen. So because he just wants to make the shidduch happen, it's kilu. He's going to write out a big check, and it's going to bounce. There's no time that the money's going to go through. But he just wants him to get married. It's going to look good if it's going to they could get married. I'll smach, based off this fact that the uncle said that, I'll be the Aref. He's not. In all honesty, this guy doesn't have any more money than the Chazan Kala have over here, but he just wants to push them that they should get married. So there's such a concept. I mean, that's clear from the Gemara like this. So this Arif doesn't have any money. So there's no etzem hischayvos that he has. He's an Arif Stam, right? That's what we mentioned the Arif Stam because it's not Arif Kablan, right? So he's just saying he can't be an Arif for the Ksuba, and there's no reality in his claim of being able to pay back the chayiv, right? So how could the isha be gover the ksuba from the arev? Meaning, typically the arev the ksuba like mishtaver bekablan. The arev of the ksuba, everybody knows when you have arev for a ksuba, it's just a nice uncle that's trying to get this husband and wife to get pushed along.
You can borrow money from the loan shark. It's not. Arev is an arev.
Anybody could do that. The point is that an arev generally. So are we? The question is every Arif an Arif? So an Arif Kablan, he assumes responsibility. But Arif Stam doesn't assume responsibility.
The guy can't pay, and then you got to be being an Arif.
Right.
You don't do a credit search on an Arif. If he was acceptable to all the parties, he's an Arif. He's an Arif. End of story.
No. So by Ksuba, but by Ksuba again, because this uncle wants very much that these people should get married.
I get it. So he's still responsible.
He's not doing it b'teiras, signing off on the papers. He doesn't sign nothing. He's not involved in anything. He doesn't have any money. He never will have money. He's just jumping in to be Mr. Nice Guy. It could be at the end of the day he's making all kinds of problems. Let's see. Yeah? So the Gemara answers. So again, so the question is, how could the Isha collect the money from a ksuba from the Arev if the Arev has no hischayvus over here? Right? By the Arev Stam, there's no hischayvus. So the Gemara answers that the Mishnah is talking about an Arev Kablan. An Arev Kablan is where there is a hischayvus. Right? So if there is a hischayvus, so it's much stronger than an Arev Stam. Because an Arev Kablan, he's the guy that Taka has money. Right? And you can go, and by an Arev Kablan, we spoke before that you don't have to go to the loiva, you could go straight to the Arev to pay. Right? And this kind of hischayvus does have the ability to pay even a ksuba. So practically more. So we should say that we have an issue over here because the Arev ksuba can't be mishubed by a kablan. Yeah, Rashi quotes. Let's see Rashi. So the Gemara is going to say that this is the Allah later on. This is the story with the kablan. So the kablan should not say like kablan should tvisa b'noy metaltal and ksubasa. He gave metaltalim for the ksuba. V'hi masrasan liyada b'taras kablanit zirasan l'b'nai. The ksuba over here we're discussing is metaltalim, that he gave it to the son, meaning that whoever it is gave it over to the kablan to hold on to these metaltalim to be used for the ksuba. So hanich l'manda amar kablan avgav the lesle nixi l'loiv mishtabe shapir. So it's actually more like this. Does a kablan have to have real assets to back himself up or not? Or he's just a nice guy? Because there's a strong tzad that Mr. Nice Guy doesn't work because there has to be a real hischayvus. It's very nice to say, I'll take responsibility. What are you going to do? You're going to become a schlepper and you're going to go around in all the minyanim to try to raise money for this chasana that you tried to pay off. Right? I mean, no one really asked you. I mean, at the end of the day, no one really asked you to be Mr. Nice Guy. Right? You're jumping in and you're saying, you'll pay for the chasana. Oh yeah? Where are you going to get the money from? I don't know. The Eibishter is going to help me. Yeah? When you're dealing big money with people, to say Hashem is going to help you, no one's going to do business with you ever again. It's the last thing they want to hear. How are you going to pay me back? Hashem is going to help. I'll just tell you quickly, we don't have so much time for stories tonight, but there was a chsidish shemaisa that, a guy was making chasana, the Taka didn't have enough money. So he went to the Gvir, and the Gvir said, how are you going to pay me back? Taka didn't have an answer. So Shabbos, so he was very tzibrochen, and Shabbos, a few days later, Shabbos, he's still very tzibrochen, and he opened up he went to shul, and he opened up a medrash, and it was Parshas Truma, and it says, Li HaKesef, V'li HaZav, Ne'um Hashem. When you sign the star, he says, Ne'um Plani Ben Plani Eid, right? So he signed the star, he wrote, Li HaKesef, V'li HaZav, Ne'um Hashem. And whatever, Eliyahu Navi, Nishta Eliyahu Navi, whatever it was, that's Achzidu Shemaisa. But the point was that he was relying on Hashem to pay him back, so he signed on the star that Hashem's going to pay him back. Okay, we're talking practically now how it's going to work, right? If a guy says, so let's see the Gemara inside. So it's good according to the Madamar that says that's a Kalban, even if he doesn't have Nechasim to back himself up, he can still be Mishabed himself to the Chayiv, where he's going to get the money from. I don't know, he'll figure it out. So that's fine. And that's why he's able to do it for the Ksuba. So, but the question is like this. According to the other Manda Omar, which would sound more practically, especially the way Rav Ari was trying to ask before, the guy has to have real assets. The guy has to have real money. If he doesn't have any assets to back it up, but garnish help him. Right? So, if he doesn't have, how is he going to be able to back himself up? So if he doesn't have what to back himself up with, if he doesn't have nechasim, he is slay mishtabed. If he has nechasim, he could be mishabed. He could be mishabed the case. He less lay loy mishtabed. And if he doesn't have nechasim, he can't be mishabed himself to be an orev, because if he doesn't have anything to back himself up with, how can he possibly be an orev? So Michael Amemar, right? Again, it's machlekes and Baba Basra. The Gemara explains that there's one shita that says that a person could be an orev even if he's Mr. Nice Guy with no money, with no intention to be able to pay it back. How is he going to be able to pay it back? Hashem is going to pay it back. Like that kind of mindset. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. And the other shita is that if you don't have assets, you can't be an orev. It doesn't work. Like any person in the business world, that's not me by the way, will say that you have to work like that. So Michael Amemar. So according to the Manda Omar that says that you have to be able to back it up, so fine. But according to the Manda Omar it says you don't. He is lemishtabed. He lets the lemishtabed. Michael Amemar. So by Ksuba we're saying that the Kablan. By Ksuba we're saying that you don't need to have a real assets to back it up. But according to the Manda Omar and Bava Basra who holds that you do need assets to back it up. So Michael Amemar. So and for the Gemara, could be that he had real assets and now, a big earthquake happened and all his buildings collapsed, or a river came and washed everything away. What wouldn't a father do for his son? Meaning that a father will go out of his way to say, he'll say, I'll back you up with whatever financial. And all the stories of the 0 to 10 billion overnight success stories of the yeshiva guy that goes out to work. He shaved geld $20 from his aunt and then he invested it, and the next morning he became a multi-billionaire, right? Because the father gave him, the father believed in him as Amin Zach, and the Kol Gabe Breishi Buddha Mishav Nafshe. Okay.
So is this a Metzias? In other words, when a guy is Mishav himself, nobody knows what's Tzitzabayim. That's the bottom line. The reality. Nobody knows what's Tzitzabayim. So is it Klapa Shmaya or is it Klapa with developed things?
Klapa with developed things, because we're talking practically now. Yeah. But Lemaisa, then again, I don't know I'm no shaykhs of business. I'm totally no shaykhs of business. I don't even know anything about banking garnished. Isaac was very helpful with that, by the way. Isaac Dayan was very helpful with the other Gemara. Yeah, he was very helpful with a lot of the banking kind of stuff. Escrow and all these kind of things. He was throwing out all these. I don't know what he was saying. Yeah, but anyway, so what am I saying? So I think I was saying like this that I forgot what I was going to say. The point is that even if you have to have something to back it up, I think that's what I was saying, but I'm not sure. I lost my train of thought. Okay, let's go weiter. If we have 5 minutes left. Itmar, Orev de Ksuba, Divrei Hakol Loy Mishtabed. The Gemara Bava Basra says that the Orev for the Ksuba can't be Mishtabed. Like Rashi, Choda de Orev be'almahu, he's an Orev Stam, V'oid lav midi chosr, shlo hitzi klum mishalah. Here's very interesting, because he's not paying the Ksuba yet. The Ksuba only pays... Right. So Kablan de Balchayiv, Divrei hakol mishtabed. But a kablan for a bal chayv, everybody holds is mishabed. Zok Rashi, tarti l'chiyuv ve'ika, because chada the kablan who, because he's a kablan, he's not a regular orev, he's an orev kablan. By the chaser memoina, he's going to have to spend money on it. So divrei hakol is mishtabed. Orev the bal chayv, ve'kablan the ksuba pligi. So the machlokes is if you're an orev for a bal chayv or a kablan the ksuba, or you're an orev kablan by a ksuba, that's the machlokes. It's the equal amount of Omar. So according to the man Omar, that says that even if he doesn't have any chosim, he could still be mishabed himself for the orev. Because the man Omar islay mishabed, islay loy mishabed. And there's another man. I mean, this is a machlokes, similar to what we said before, that even if he doesn't have what to back himself up with, meaning if he doesn't have any assets to back himself up with, he can still be mishabed himself for this orev. The halacha is by all these cases that even if he doesn't have any assets to back himself up with, he can still be mishabed himself to be the orev. Bar me orev de ksuba. Besides for an orev de ksuba, the aval gav de islay loy mishabed. That even if he has money to back himself up with, even if he has assets to back himself up with, loy mishabed, he's still not mishabed. Why? Because again, this is because, if I'm not mistaken, this is because he's an Orev Stam and he's not an Orev Kablan, so he never really has to be Mechayiv himself too much. It's only what he said. Orev Kablan, he's got to have the money, and he's much more responsible if he's an Orev Kablan than if he's just an Orev Stam. Okay. So my timer. So what's the pshat? What's the pshat that we say that Orev for the Ksuba, even if he has money, he's not Mishtab? There's two milos that this guy has. Number one is that he's doing a mitzvah because he wants these people to get married. So he's going to say, "Listen, I'll cover the cost of the wedding. You know, I'll pay for half the suda v'mizuk." And the second pshat is lamidi chasra. When it comes to the ksuba, you don't pay the ksuba now. You pay the ksuba later. So in 30 years from now, I'll have to worry about it. By then, he'll also be an overnight billionaire, mitzvah shem. So then you don't have to worry about the money. Okay. He's not making a shvua. There's nothing happening here. Right, but again, there's no. When we started off in the ksubas are right.
So that's a shvua, essentially.
He's saying that the ksubas the ksuba itself is a real eschayvus, but over here the orev. So again, if he's an orev kablan, so then that's a real hischadus.
No, it means that the woman, as an example, is being to, which means the marriage is alive.
Oh, you're saying like that.
You finish your thoughts, I'll tell you, then I'll say
mine. You're saying you go first.
Every chassid, he doesn't have any money. He's going to go schmitz. I don't see it.
I'll tell you, I'm saying a great word. Somebody, it's not answering the question.
I don't even have to cut some. You promise. You'll have to go. You figure it out.
Right. So you have to have some kind. You have to have some kind of plan. You have to have some kind of plan, or you don't. Right? Hashem is going to be the one that's going to start in the star. But someone came to Rabbi Yashiv. He was making chassan of probably 15th kid or whatever it was. You know how these chalmis work, and he says.
No idea.
I also have no idea. Anyway, so he comes to Rabbi Yashiv and he says, Efsher, maybe at this point in my life I should go get a job. So Rabbi Yashiv told him, who says that shnaring gelt is not parnasa? I mean, isn't that parnasa? I mean, if it's a quarter at a time, it's $1 at a time. But prove Mr. Efes Chashman Gadol, you can make.
Yeah.
And we have all these stories. I don't know how these guys. I know these people.
I have a sore spot for these people. I love it.
It's unbelievable. You come to them. I tell you, I could keep you here all night telling you stories about these people. You go to them for Shabbos. They serve a suda shlema b'shaitai. They come the next day, open up the fridge. There's not a mashu of food to be found. And they make chasanim. They're the happiest people in the world. I know some of these people personally. And there's one guy that I used to collect for a lot of times. And whenever he would come in, and I told somebody, I said, listen, even if I'm only going to give him $50, even if I'm only going to give him $100, it's going to make a difference. Because even if it's not going to be for his kid's chasana, but he'll be able to pay for Shabbos.
He's a chizik.
And the last year, so when he went, he always comes Purim time. So last year I tried to give him the money, but I missed him. He used to float around yeshiva, and now I'm not in yeshiva, so I missed him. So my brother's going back to Israel, so I gave my brother the money. I said, "You make sure you drop it off." My brother used to pay him anyways. I said, "Drop it off by him." A couple of weeks go by, I didn't hear from my brother. I didn't hear anything. So I called him one night. I said, "Did you give the money to him?" See, he says, "Oh, it's so interesting. I just left his house. So I just got him. He says, I just gave it to him now, and Grada, I ate by him Shabbos." I said, "Yeah, cost is covered. I just paid for it."
So what did the Islam mean? He came to my house. I told him, I give him fish yodi, sorry, hakei magas. You know what he told me? I'll tip to him with a div, with other shay loy. Yeshua. Forgot to come to Yeshua.
That's what my grandfather told the guy collecting. He said, "What's Wilson for me?"
So he said to Shami, he told me, the other shay loy, Yeshua. For them, get come to Yeshua.
Yeah. Okay, so we didn't cover the whole thing, but Lamaisa we got a little bit stuck in Arev. Baruch Hashem. Okay.
Well,